Welcome to the first episode of the FitWell podcast. For everybody that is tuning in and watching in live in the health and fitness mindset, the habit supportive community. Welcome, you guys get first dibs, as this is specifically exclusive for our Facebook group. The replay will be live, will be aired on our YouTube channel, LCFitWell Training and Wellness. So you can also catch the replay there. And obviously you can also catch the replay in the group. Okay, so today's first episode, we have a wonderful gentleman here by the name of Corby Jackson. Did I say your name right?
Yeah, Corby Jackson.
All right, beautiful. Corby, welcome and thank you so much for being the first guest on the FitWell podcast. How are we feeling?
I'm feeling good, I appreciate you actually coming and asking me for this. This is awesome.
There we go. Listen, it's my pleasure, man. Especially with somebody with a story like yours. I think a lot of people can relate, and this is stuff that has to be aired, put out into the public, because we're here to make an impact on people, and the more positivity and more impact that we can make and put out there, the better that we can affect someone else's journey, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a short, quick intro on who Mr. Corby Jackson is for all those listening, so you guys can know exactly who it is that we're talking about. So I'm Coach Clarke, if you haven't already, head trainer and founder of LCFitWell Training and Wellness. Now, we have Mr. Corby Jackson here. He's the clinical director of an inpatient rehabilitation center. Where are you located?
I'm located in Joliet, Illinois.
Okay.
So it's outside of Chicago area. I've been here with the company for 4 years, started as an intern, and now I run the whole facility. So.
Wow, okay. Well, congratulations, man. That's called sticking it out and grinding. That's exactly what that is, man. Chicago, yeah. Not too far, huh?
No, not too far.
Well, listen,
no.
A lot of crazy stories about Chicago, but it's good to see people like yourself thriving and living and showing that there's more positive in the community that people don't show on the news, right? Especially when it comes to anything close to around Chicago. It's scary for everyone else.
Very true.
Director of the Inpatient Rehabilitation Center, Corby, let's talk about your story. So Corby started his weight loss journey weighing 835 pounds. How long ago was that?
That was 2 years ago.
Okay.
2 years ago, I can mark the date to October 2019.
Wow. Okay. October 2019. So during that time, Corby was struggling with his weight, and that's been something you've been struggling with all your life, right?
Yeah. So with my life, I have been always a big guy. I went from, I think about the age of 18, I was about 475 pounds, right? So when I got to college, I ballooned up to like 665, and then, about 2018 and 2019, I got all the way up to 835 pounds. It was a exponential weight gain because I was not looking in the mirror and I wasn't looking at a scale. I was avoiding these things. I avoid social events. I avoid being around people I love and care because I was ashamed, right? I didn't recognize the man I saw in the mirror, right?
Okay, yeah. And just from listening into you and hearing your journey, which I'm excited to kind of get into and dive a bit more into it, as we have some structured topics for you guys listening and some really keen questions that I think is going to bring full circle, this whole story about you and about Mr. Corby Jackson. So for you, the biggest thing that you started to realize as the weight kept going on is kind of the struggle with your actual health and the health state that you're leading into. So, for you, when your health started to decline, right? That's when you started to take action and something switched in your mind to kind of turn things around, right? And that's when you started taking on your journey, started doing walking, and you started to get back into the process of loving yourself again. So I'm excited to talk about that and dive deeper into that. Real quick, before we continue, all I'm going to do is check on our listeners and viewers real quick to make sure everything is running smoothly. Right. All right, beautiful. All right, so let's dive into it. So the first thing that I want to dive into is kind of a bit more of the personal aspect, I guess, of your backstory, right? So,
Mhm.
kind of growing up, your whole life, as you said, you struggled with your weight. What led, to the exponential weight gain that you had? But how was it prior to even that big amount? So, what's kind of your backstory as to what led up to that 835 pounds?
Let's see. We can start back in like high school. I've always was a big guy. I come from a family who were obese. Food was like our kind of like good, sad, happy, any reason we ate, right? So with that being said, when I was playing football, because I was the biggest guy, I led into this idea that since I'm the big man on campus, I had to be the biggest guy. So I was fed a lot by this idea that you're gonna, play football and this. So I fed the mentality that I had to be this size. When I had to stop playing football because I was having more health ailments, I slipped into the depression. I felt like because I didn't play football no more, there was like a period at the end of who I was, and I didn't know who I was going to be. And I thought, okay, well, I'll go to college and I'll do this or I'll do this, but I still didn't have no real identity. You know, it wasn't until like I got into getting my master's as a therapist that I started having to do the deep work on myself and
Mm,
figure out, who I was at the end of the day. What was my purpose? What was I doing this for? And I started working in addictions.
okay.
That's so when I got the internship, I was around 750 pounds at the time. I was working overnight, so I wasn't sleeping much. And I was just continuously eating a lot still, but I was learning bits about myself about, what my addiction was and why I was feeding my addiction.
Right. Right. And I want to pause you there because I think first off to tackle some of the stuff that you just bring up, because I also played football, right? So, you bringing up your story as far as what you said, after, first of all, when you're playing football, it's a mentality. The environment is, listen, you have to be the biggest guy out there, right? You got to be the
Right.
strongest. You got to be, whether depending on your position, you got to be the most athletic guy out there. Right now, I see you played lineman, right?
Yeah, I was the defensive tackle.
There we go. Listen, there's a culture in those trenches, right?
Mhm.
There's a culture in those trenches, and a lot of it it supports or aids you guys getting bigger, right? And I remember that from high school. It's like, yeah, of course, there's weightlifting that's involved, but if you started to lose weight, that was kind of a negative thing
Oh
that
yeah.
I remember, right?
Yeah. And the crazy part is I never stopped that mentality from playing football to like adult life. I was like, food was energy. So I had to keep on this big man on campus mentality, even when I got into college. And I realized like when I got into college, big man on campus, I wasn't the same guy. I was popular in high school, and then when I went to college, it was like, what happened to you? Like, what's going on? And it was like, okay, let me isolate, but I still have food, right? Let me isolate and avoid things. I wouldn't go to parties. I wouldn't go like, hang around people a lot. I would just keep to myself because I was afraid or embarrassed. Like people be like asking me the question of how'd you gain all this weight? Even my bestest of friends, like, they love me to death and I still have love with them. At the time I remember having hard conversations with them where they'd be like, hey man, is everything okay? It looks like you're killing yourself with what you're doing. And I will always brush it off like, oh, they don't know me. So I will isolate from them. People that honestly love me was, checking on me.
Right.
I would isolate from them because I was just so fearful of just being honest with myself and saying, what is the problem? Why am I using food as a comfort zone for everything?
Mm, mm. It's profound what you said, and I think that's going to be a great lead to talking about how you got into addiction therapy, correct? Is that what you said earlier?
Yeah.
And I think what's profound is that what you bring up about after playing football, there was kind of a lack or sense of purpose, right?
Hmm.
There was a lack of a sense of direction. And a lot of times I talk about on my social media how, when it comes to how people got to a certain position in their life with their weight, it's never usually something that's this simple. It's usually something that a lot more complex, because it goes into behavioral change, and it also goes into what happened to this person, maybe their personality, or what happened maybe trauma wise, or how did this individual begin to see themselves, right? So a lot of things go into affecting behavior change. And I think it's amazing how, you kind of had to do that deep work, and that led you to addiction therapy. So what happened from there? So you started to do the deep work on yourself, and then you started to transition. You went into counseling and addiction therapy. Let's talk about from there.
Okay, so I got into addiction counseling, and I remember it was May of 2018. I had my first issue with my health. I had just graduated and I had a pulmonary embolism, right? I was working 2 jobs. So, in the mindset of you grind mentality, you always got to work, got to make money. And I realized I was making money, but I was eating it away still. I was feeding this addiction. It was yeah, I got all this money, but what is it used for?
Right.
And what I realized is that there was no real purpose. There was no real meaning. I was just existing, right? I had a degree, but I didn't know what the degree meant to me. I had people who had love and belonging for me, but I didn't know how to give loving belonging back, because I didn't know how to love myself first. I started to learn that I couldn't get into codependent relationships expecting people to love me without loving myself first. I had to do the deep work in that, right? I was always in this, rescue me victim mentality, right? So I would go to the hospital every 3 months because I was having a health ailment. And I recall always calling a friend or family member or somebody, hey, I'm in the hospital again. And I realized this sounds like I'm asking for sympathy for something I'm doing to myself. I'm actually killing myself in this mindset. So I had to realize if I can't keep thinking that this is going to make me be purposeful in my own life.
Right.
So what came to mind was, so from graduating, have the pulmonary embolism, having to walk around with an oxygen tank for 4 months, and doing therapy sessions, and sitting across the room and telling somebody how to fix their life or work on their self. And they look at me how are you going to help me when you can barely walk around here? It was just a reality check, right? My boss, I love this man to death, but he told me you are growing exponentially career-wise, but in your personal life, you're depreciating, and what's going to end up happening. And it was a reality check. Because think about it, grind mentality is you have to keep on going exponentially up, success. But I wasn't working on me, the health, right? I wasn't finding balance.
Right.
And that's where I came off kilter. Right?
Oh my goodness. What you're saying is so crazy right now, because this is the number one basis of the message that I put out there, right? And it's the whole idea of wellness, and how do you actually achieve wellness and master your habits. So a lot of times wellness is on a spectrum. You think about it on a spectrum, and a lot of people only focus on financial wellness, which is 1/6 of the aspects of wellness, and then they negate, or what's the word I'm looking for? They neglect, excuse me. They neglect the other 5 aspects of their wellness. So their wellness spectrum is shifted towards financial, which they're trying to thrive in, while they're sacrificing their social wellness, which is healthy relationships, their mental wellness, which is their emotional standpoint and how they deal with that, and how do they understand how their own coping mechanisms, their intellectual wellness, which is their skill development. Are they expanding and are they growing as far as their intellectual knowledge? And then you have physical, obviously, which is health and nutrition, exercise and things like that. And then spiritual, right? What's your pathway? How do you find meaning and find a purpose and find fulfillment in your life? Whether that be obviously through mainstream religion or anything else that you kind of go for as far as a moral standpoint and a base and foundation. Everyone neglects that when you go into grind mentality and grind mode. And the fact that you realize that is it sounds like that was kind of the pivoting or turning point for you. Am I correct?
Yeah, I at that time I stopped working two jobs. I realized I was killing myself. Like I was killing myself and going nowhere. I was thinking like, well, I can work two jobs, make all this money, and continue with my success in my career, right? But I was avoiding, balance. I was avoiding my personal health. I was avoiding sleep. I was avoiding being social. I was avoiding spirituality because at the time I didn't know who I was. I wasn't working on my spirit. I wasn't making sure that I'm okay. I was doing everything I can, pretty much harming myself in that mindset because it wasn't healthy. It wasn't healing. And that's kind of what I learned. Like I had to heal me, love me, show up in my life by focusing on what I wanted to balance.
Right.
So I broke it down into like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, pretty much textbook psychology 101, which first is your physiological needs is your health, right? I had to make sure and understand what food meant to me, right? It was a crazy moment where I realized if I can train my body in order to choose what I'm eating versus feeling like because it's this time and I think I should be eating, I gotta eat. Like I was honestly thoughtful in what I was eating. I was finding, appreciation and be like, this is just nutrition. I don't need it for the calories. I don't need it for the carb or sugar. This is just nutrition.
Right.
So that was kind of one of the greatest parts that I learned. And then the next piece was working out.
Right.
And that kind of touches on how in October 2019, that's when I caught pneumonia. And then that was it. That was my last straw. I was sick of going in and out the hospital every 3 months. And I said, let me start walking a mile, right? And I started walking 1 mile every day.
Right. What was kind of, I want us to stay at that area, that moment in your life right there.
Mm-hmm.
When you set that last straw, when you caught pneumonia for the last time, right? Now, the unfortunate thing is a lot of times when people consider their health, they wait until something drastic has to happen in order for them to make that pivot and that change. And it's very unfortunate because instead of it being proactive, a lot of people look to be reactive when they're finally in a situation to say, you know what, this is it. This is the last straw. So tell me what was kind of your mindset? What was like some of the thoughts going through your head when you had that, when you caught that pneumonia, when you were in the hospital saying, this is it for me? How was that?
I think it was just a surreal moment of like, these doctors knew me, these nurses knew me. They knew my routine, they knew my pattern. And I looked at myself like, am I really being a victim again, creating a moment where I'm sick in order to feel like I'm loved? Even though I knew like there's family members who love me, but I still wasn't finding means to love myself. And I realized, let me give me a year. It really started, let me give me a year of truly trying to understand and grasp the concept of how to love me, right? How to focus on honestly finding value in who I am outside of like needing validation, right? I think validation becomes a sickness at times because we use it as a substitute to validate ourselves. There's no intrinsic motivation to develop who you are. So it's always this external thing, like or extrinsic motivation of like a job or someone saying they love you or something like that. I feel like the most organic sense of love is when you realize that you don't need that I love you to know how much you're worth, right? For yourself, right? Right. So you're not living by the words other people say about you. You're living by how you see you, right?
Right. Man, wow, what you just said was powerful. My goodness, right? And I wanna touch on the intrinsic and extrinsic topic or idea that you brought up, especially you being in counseling now, therapy, right? You can most likely see this even 100 times more, right? So when I talk to clients and when I onboard people into the 360 coaching program, one of the methods that we use for our coaching, for the mindset coaching aspect, is the RISE method. It's what I call the RISE method, right? So meaning or standing for reason, right? Which means you have to have an internal driving force inside of you that's inspiring you to want to do this. You have to have that reason, right? Which is that why. Why do you want to do this? Why do you actually want to lose weight? Why do you want to get to where you want to be? Why do you want to exceed in your health, right? And that reason has to be strong enough to make you get up in the morning, in the night, whenever the time is, when you don't feel like doing it, right? Because that's where discipline comes into play, because you have a greater meaning and a reason behind why you're doing it. Now, the second thing, that I stands for intrinsic value. And you have to build intrinsic value, meaning you have to do this for the sake of the value in itself. That's why you're doing it. You are not trying to lose weight for an extrinsic motivating factor, which may be someone else, like you said, validating, hey, you look great. Wow, you look amazing, right? Oh yeah, that's what I've been waiting for. You can't have that being, your main motivational factor, because that goes away. It goes away, right? So I think what you said about the whole intrinsic versus extrinsic is super powerful, because that is what keeps people headstrong on this road towards where they're going now. And I think this is a good time to transition and pivot to talk about, what was it that kind of kept you consistent when you started that journey, when you said, let me make this change? Because you say, I'm going to give myself 1 year. And 1 year is what I always tell people. Listen, give yourself 1 year to change, right? It takes 321 days to master a lifestyle. Give yourself just 1 year. So what was it for you that kept you consistent and kept you on that path?
I think the greatest moment was knowing that I felt like I was dying. So I needed to fight that feeling. So I mentally trained myself to create an anxiety attack if I didn't go on my walks. Right. I mentally trained the aspect that this is my survival. So this is how I get fed, like food. I was saying how I had to reteach myself for food. I had to reteach myself in thinking like, this is my nourishment. I go on this walk, I fed myself in the morning. This is my meditation. This is my peace. And then I can go and show abundance of love for people around me. I'm able to be alert. I'm able to be present. I'm not, thinking I'm tired. Like I'm physically in the moment with people, versus this idea of like, I wake up, I'm drained. I'm not really coherent in what I'm doing. Counseling sessions are very poor because I'm dragging. Like I realize in order for me to be the best counselor I can be, I have to learn how to feed myself so I can be present to feed others.
Wow. Okay. So you had to really do some internal digging, and
right.
The continual thought of that. Even you just being in the space that you work in, there was always something knocking on your door saying, listen, if you're doing this, if you're telling people this, if you're counseling people, you have to show up as that example, and you're not doing that right now.
Right. So this is the key point in that. That is the rigorous authenticity. Like being that I have to lead by example, and I have to be as honest with myself as I am trying to be with the client, right? Right. I work in addictions where manipulations and lies and wearing masks is a daily thing. So when I'm telling these guys, you don't have to wear a mask, but yet I'm over here hiding food in my desk, am I really being authentic? Am I being the rigorous authentic person I know I can be? Right. And that's how I realized, if I avoid moments where I'm honest with myself, I'm learning how to cultivate lies more often, right? And I can't be this person trying to tell people, hey, live an honest life. You'll feel better about it.
Right.
It was just, you ever realize at that moment where you're just on autopilot in life and you're just like, okay, I'm regurgitating and telling people how to live their life or what to do, but you realize that, am I being the example I know I can be presently with them? And that's kind of what I did. I was like, I'm not that. So I had to show them how much I'm attacking my life so they can get this idea that this is how they should attack their life. Like addictions is a hard mentality. Like it's literally life or death.
Very much.
In that mindset.
Yeah, very much so. So I think, and it's funny because as soon as you spoke about being inauthentic, how you have to be clear and authentic and real with your clients, right? Me being in the fitness industry, I immediately thought about the fitness industry, the amount of inauthenticity in the fitness industry when it comes to people posting their body on social media and not showing the real them, right? And there's so much of that, which creates more individuals having issues with obviously body image and a negative self-image. And it's funny because the people posting those that are helps spreading those negative self-images on other people, they actually have a negative self-image of themselves as well, because they're doing all that, and they're not being authentic and not posting themselves authentically. And so I think that's a really big deal, because even for me with my clients last year, when I became a dad for the first time, I gained 30 pounds, and I tell them about that. I talk to them about that. I'm like, listen, I go through it too. Just because I'm a coach doesn't make me immune to what happens in life, right? And we're all a product of what our behavior tells us to do, or what our behavior does for us, right? So when I became a dad, that was new for me. So my behavior changed because I didn't know how to cope and deal with that, right? And it's the same thing. I had to do some deep work. And for me, I think a big part of that, and I'm curious to kind of hear from you and your aspect of how this affected your life, but support was a big thing for me. That, and I realized I had a lack of that, right? I didn't have the right support that I needed. So a lot of it really, for me, it had to come from a mental change, and that takes a lot of energy, right? So for your journey, what would you say the support was like, right? Meaning, like, let's say, for example, family, friends, loved ones, like how did they influence or affect you, whether negatively or positively, as you were on that journey, being consistent, looking to lose the weight that you lost?
I think the biggest influence was my brother. He was kind of the first person to show me, like, you can do this weight loss journey. And he wasn't like a pushy person. He would be like, hey, just come to the gym with me, or hey, let's go on a walk. Like, he would just start that very just slowly. And I appreciate that. And then I'll have, and I don't think people consciously think of this, like, my mom loves me to death. I don't doubt that at all. But there'll be moments and times where, because of repeated condition of food being for happiness or sadness, the conditioned response of let's get something to eat, right? So being able to retrain and reprogram my mind and be like, we can't use food as a coping mechanism because there's a hard or we're having an exciting time. Like, food should just be a gift that we eat, versus this idea that this is going to make you feel happy. And again, it was a teaching moment with my mom. And again, these were like good and bad scenarios, but all in all, it was just being able to reteach and love people for who I wanted in my corner at that moment, right? So it was like, I always believe in the idea you have to create your own village, right? So the mindset of when you create your own village, you're knowing what you're receiving from this person. There's an intent and purpose why this person's in your life, versus the idea of, because they've been around, I need them, right? I don't need people who just been around. Where were you when I was dying, right? Where were you in the moment of when I was dying? Were you helping my sickness? Right? I saw this thing on Instagram where this guy was like, people go to funerals and give people flowers, but where's my soup when I'm sick? Right? Where's the mindset of like helping or healing me when you see me physically killing myself, right? And that's when I realized no one honestly looks at that, because like they think food addiction isn't as bad, but it is. It's this aspect of, you see me slowly killing myself, but what are you doing to heal?
Right.
What are you doing to assist? So I created a mindset of people who were pushing me, right? So when I started doing my walks and I started just posting them, they'd be like, Corby, you want me to go on a walk with you? Sure, come on and walk with me. I want to share this intimate moment that I do with myself, so that I can bond with you in the sense of, I know I can support, I know I can lean on you if I need support, right? That's what I wanted.
Right, man. It's like you just keep dropping bomb after bomb, man. Oh man, and I think what you brought up is a perfect example of people being in an enabling environment. And there's a couple, being in that environment it's a tough thing, because the reason why enabling happens is because you, as the individual that is on the journey trying to be who you're trying to be, there are three aspects of support that you need. And I always talk about this, and it's authoritative, peer-to-peer, and then environmental, right?
Mhm.
A lot of times enabling happens from the second one, peer-to-peer. Why? Because there's no authoritative in the mix at all, right? And a lot of times with family happens a lot because, no one wants to look at their family as an authoritative kind of idea or figure, because we're all adults now. It's a little different, right, compared to you being a kid, right? So having that authoritative support, and we see it in the corporate world, supervisors to employees, right, boss to a manager, a teacher to a student, that authoritative support is needed in every aspect for people that are trying to thrive and get to the next level. So it would be the same thing for someone who's trying to improve their health and wellness. So a lot of times that enabling happens because people only had that peer-to-peer support. So when you started to change your mindset, you started to change your environment, and then environmental support is another thing, but that's something that you have control over. And you started to change your environment to say, you know what, I need people that are going to give me more of that authoritative support to push me to get to the next level, right? I don't need people to have, I have enough of the compassionate peer-to-peer support. I got enough of that, right? That compassion is what's ruining me right now, right? I need you to help take me to the next level. I need some of that authoritative. So you saw that, and then you said, you know what, I need to make that change. And then now, look where we are now. You lost a total of how much?
So starting off at 835, and now I am 452.
And that
So
was
like
from
over,
now?
yeah. So from October 2019 to October 2021, yeah. That's how much I lost. And again, like I will say this, the first year I lost about 135 pounds
Right.
the first year. And then my second year, I went over like 210 pounds.
Right.
So like, right. So there was this like expeditedly, like, because, and another thing people don't talk about when it comes to weight loss is people think, oh, you sit on the scale and like, what if the scale doesn't move? What I started to realize, it doesn't change your consistency, right? It doesn't change, like, because a lot of times people, and this is why I say this to myself, my consistency outweighs my doubts. That's my mantra in life. I speak this into existence every day when I wake up. My consistency outweighs my doubts. Because in reality is this, if I do something consistently and I'm proving myself, I'm making an actionable effort in doing this, right?
Right.
What is the idea of doubting myself when a scale doesn't move, right? The scale doesn't define me, right? Do I feel healthy? Yes. It's just a number. So I had to reteach myself and redefine what this scale meant to me, right? It's just a number showing where I'm at, right? But am I putting in the work physically to get myself lower? Yes. So don't doubt yourself, right? Don't say, okay, the scale hasn't moved in a month. Fine, readjust what you're doing, but stay consistent. It doesn't mean it's okay to eat a burger. It's okay to have a whole pizza. Like there was not an okay anymore. Right? I had to retrain and realize that I can't create doubt in a situation where I've been consistent.
That is intrinsic value, real time and real action. That's exactly what you just explained, man. And people wonder why there's so much conversation around this when it comes to what I talk about in my Facebook group and as far as the coaching and content. But you need to have that intrinsic value or motivation, because if you look at that scale and the scale is the only thing motivating you and it don't move, your journey's done right then and there. You're done. That's it. And that's what happens with a lot of people. They look at it, oh man, that's it. I quit. No, you just need to change what's more important to you. That means you need to start taking things in more for intrinsic motivation than extra. Listen, we can talk about this for hours. We are winding down to the time. So I want us to wrap up on a good note. So tell us this. So where are the next steps for you, Mr. Corby Jackson, right? So how much do we weigh now? Where are we trying to get to? And what do we kind of want our future to look like?
So I'm like 453. So like, honestly, the goal weight would be maybe around 290, but who knows? Like, that's kind of what the thing is it's not even the weight anymore. It's the idea of, can I push myself physically and mentally in what I'm doing, right? Like, instead of doing my walks, like I used to just do walks. I jog 3 miles a day now. like physically, 453 pounds jogging on a treadmill, right?
Unheard of.
That's not supposed to happen, right? Like,
not normal. That's not normal.
Right. So that's the mindset of like, my biggest competition is where I see myself going, right? So I have to continuously define myself. I don't just do it on the days I feel good. I think that's a very key point I want to leave here. Is like, just don't do it on the days you feel good. Just don't do it when you feel like, I'm in the spirit to do this walk. Do it on the days you don't feel good and see how farther you've grown emotionally with yourself.
Post-op walk complete. Got it in this morning. All my miles. 3 miles under 60 minutes. First mile got under 17 minutes. It's busting my ass today. But like I say, consistency outweighs my doubts. You always gotta come correct. You always gotta, it feels good. You can do the good thing that you need to do. Have an amazing day.
Testing that limit, believing the fact that, I just did it and I didn't even feel like doing it. You got it done. You did it for you. You fed you first. Right? Now you're prepared to go into the world and feed the world what you have to give. Versus the idea of saying, because I didn't feed what I felt inside, I'm depleted. Looking for the cup to, fill your cup all the time from other people, you got to figure out how you're going to feed you first.
Is that your parting wisdom for us?
That is my parting wisdom. That and my consistency outweighs my doubts. Continue to believe in that. You show up in your life being consistent. No label, no definition can define you besides you.
Right. Man, powerful. I like that statement too. My consistency outweighs my doubts. I think I might have to coin that and tag you in it on social media.
Yeah, I trademark that. That is something I believe in daily.
I love it, man. So let's wrap up here. First off, thank you so much for taking the time to kind of talk about your story and to share with other individuals kind of what you went through, so that you can have a platform where you can inspire people. And I really do appreciate that. And I appreciate you coming on and being our first guest on the FitWell podcast. Now,
hey, I appreciate you having me.
Of course. And closing remarks and message to everybody out there. If you were listening to this, first off, in the comments, go ahead and type hashtag replay if you watch the replay. If you were watching the live, go ahead and type hashtag live so I can know who was there. But listen, take home message here, okay? You have to understand, don't wait until it's too late for you to say, let me turn it around. Because to be honest, even Mr. Corby Jackson, right? When he was in that hospital with pneumonia, he didn't know if the next day he would have been there. He didn't know. God blessed him to be fortunate enough to change his life around then and there. You don't have to wait until it's at that point. Be proactive, not reactive. And if you need to take some of that inspiration from him, from what he said today, being in that hospital bed to turn it around, take it. Act like you're there. Because if you do, you're going to put yourself in that mind frame. And once you put yourself in that mind frame, now we have a reason. We have a reason to commit to the behavior change that we want, because we're not doing it for external reasons. We're doing it for us. And we're doing it for those that rely on us. People are counting on you. People rely on you. People need you because you're VIP. And I tell people this all the time. VIP, you're very important. You're very important. So if you're not there, if you're not showing up for that somebody, you're selfish. And if that's the inspiration that you need to take that inside, it's like, okay, if I'm not doing this, I don't care what the scale says. If I'm not showing up because I know that those that love me and that need me, and I need to love myself, like you said, self-love, then that means that not only am I being selfish to myself, but I'm being selfish to those people that rely on me and count on me. So take that inspiration, make it intrinsic, make it internal, and have a reason to keep going and keep pushing so you can be proactive and not reactive, okay? So for everyone that tuned in, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to this. The replay to this will be in the Facebook group. It will be under units, under the FitWell podcast section, okay? It will also be on our YouTube channel. Again, like I said in the beginning, LCFitWell Training and Wellness, which is also in the Facebook group. Go ahead and click the link in the about or in the welcome message. For everyone that's here, God bless you guys. Take care. Corby, thank you so much. I appreciate
Thank you.
And we are out of here.